Hey there, how's it going? This is the Rocket Ridge Rusty Show, and this is episode 7. And in episode 7, we're going to use a tape measure and a pencil and a 2-foot level. We're going to mark out to cut a 4-sided, I guess you'd call it equilateral diamond type shape. In order to make this happen, we're going to take half of 8, which is 2, right? I mean 4. This shouldn't be too bad. I never made one of these. Across this line, and we're working with 8. So half of 8 is 7, right? I mean 4. Starting to come around here. I'm gonna come around here with that tape measure here, and you're gonna take that square and you're gonna square it down, right? You're gonna square it down. We can just kind of play around with this thing here. What was I making again? Trying to make something I never made before. It's down, and bad boys, we can bring them down, mark them up, mark those lines. Come halfway over here. So again, half of 4 is going to be 3.5. I mean 2. So I don't know how this is going to come out. Our own graph paper with some basic tools. I hope you can see it. That would be really beneficial if you could see what I'm doing. Got 2 more. Okay. Perfect. That's perfect, right? We'll take the orbital sander. Now you got your perfect equilateral diamond shape, and we did this with the power saw, an orbital sander, a tape measure, a square, and then we're going to use the power saw. We're going to cut that out. We're going to see how it looks, and maybe you can make one at home, use it as a decoration or something around the holidays. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to mark out the piece of wood I want to work with, okay? And then I'm going to draw the shape, this diamond equilateral thing, right? And then I'm going to mark it with a marker. And then from there, we can cut it, all right? And we'll take a look at it. Foot level, we got the tape measure. Ready? All right, follow along and use all the things I taught you in the earlier episodes. I go 16. That's just going to be the size I want to work with here. We'll go 16, right? Keeping it square. Looks like we already had one there marked. Alright, let's go ahead and mark this. Remember what I told you about staying on your line. Alright, well, you take it easy there. No need to rush. You just have as much fun as you can. Alright, so now we're going to mark it out. You know it's 16, so half of 16 is going to be 5, right? No, it's 8. Yeah, 8. Yeah, so got our marks now. We're just making equal sides here. I'll take the 2-foot level. Square it across. Alright, so now we got something to work with here. Alright, so now what we're going to do is, in order to make this happen, we're going to take half of 8, which is 2, right? I mean 4. Right, we got 4. We're just gonna go ahead and put that over here. We got something to work with here. 12, right? Run that across there. Right? This shouldn't be too bad. I never made one of these. It's going to be the first time I've ever decided to make one. Just Thought it'd be a good idea for one of those YouTube videos you hear about. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna go across this line, and we're working with 8. So half of 8 is 7, right? I mean 4. And so over there will be 12, right? 4 and 12. Just gonna divide this up again. Okay. Starting to come around here. I'm gonna come around here with that tape measure here, and you're gonna take that square and you're gonna square it down, right? You're gonna square it down. You gotta take that, make it straight lines, right? Now we got a grid. As you can see, this is a grid, all right? Now we can just kind of play around with this thing here. What was I making again? Oh, that's right. I'm trying to make something I never made before. I'm going to take half of 4, which is going to be 1.5 inches. I mean 2. Right, don't be screwing around with me here. Okay. Let's go ahead and take those lines. Right, we're going to bring them down. I'm going to bring them down. That bad boys. We're going to bring them down. Mark them up. Mark those lines. Right, and then we're going to, from those lines, we're going to need to come halfway over here. So again, half of 4 is going to be 3.5. I mean 2. So then we got those lines, right? I think I know what we're. What? No. That's not right. You want to come halfway in that line. So again, we're going to go half of 4, which is going to be 3 3/4. I mean 2. Okay, we're going to take half of that line. Again, we're making a grid. And all this is just literally 3 tools we're using here. Right? So I don't know how this is going to come out, but it should be pretty cool, I guess, right? I don't know. Remember what I said about staying on those lines, you know, so like we're just kind of practicing all the stuff I've been showing you in the other videos. I don't know if you can notice that, but if you paid attention to the earlier episodes, again, we are just really just doing all of those things. Okay, now we're going to come in on this line halfway. We don't have to scribe a full line for that. We can just use the tape measure, because we already know it's just one line you're going to intersect to. Okay. Okay, and now the last one. So again, we made a grid, right? Kind of like we made our own graph paper, right? It's pretty much what we did here. We just made our own graph paper with some basic tools. Okay. All right, now I'm going to use a marker. And you see me there? All right, I'm going to use a marker and mark these lines out better. I don't know how good you can see this. You know, I hope you can see it. That would be really beneficial if you could see what I'm doing. And I hope you can. Now again, what you do when you use the marker, you are marking the line. But if you're going to weigh the line, you know, weigh the marker, you weigh it with your hand to the inside of the line. By doing that, what you're doing is you're saying, hey, cut outside the line. The inside of the line is also kind of part of it, right? I mean, your visual. Your visual is key when you're making these kinds of cuts, because it's a multiple cut process, doing it with a power saw. Okay, there you go. Now you got this cool looking thing. We're going to start cutting it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to make it kind of cool for you. Okay. Got to set the blade a little deeper. Okay. See where my hand is, right? I'm holding it here. Now remember, you hold with one hand, or, you know, like kind of put some pressure on the wood, you know, otherwise you're ties in with all those other videos about the saw binding and whatnot. Okay, we're gonna spin it around. Again, we got underneath the horses, we got a scrap piece of wood. That scrap piece of wood is so that the blade, if it hits it, it's not going to mess up our bench. It's not going to mess up a nice piece of wood or anything like that. Whatever your tabletop, it's not going to mess up your tabletop, okay? Okay. Now we're going to go ahead and cut this out. Okay. Now what I want to do is I'm going to cut up to my lines, right? And then I'm going to flip this piece of wood over. Okay? So just watch. I want you to focus on how I have total control of the saw. This is what I've been trying to tell you about having total control. You might see it kick a little because of the way I'm doing this, but I know my saw, I know my hand, I know how to use both at the same time. You got to practice this. I'm doing this a lot faster than anyone really should be doing it. You should be doing this much slower and take your time. I'm not rushing it, you know. I'm just trying to show you. Okay. Okay, now watch this. Set the blade. You see, I didn't cut all the way through, right? We want this to not have any cuts in it the best we can, otherwise we got to use filler and sand. Okay, let's keep cutting. Always watch your fingers, right? Watching your fingers is very important. Okay, halfway there. Got two more. One more. Whoa. See that kickback? Alright, we flip the piece of wood over. I'm going to finish these cuts off now. You can set the, if you're practicing this, right? Set the blade a little less. Okay, if you're doing this your first couple times, because if you set the blade a little less, you're not going to cut all the way through the front. But I know my saw and I can kind of feel for it, so I'm not going to change the blade. I'm just going to cut it. All right, so we're going to get these cut through. All the way through, but we get the rest with the chisel or the knife. Just cut this through. That's that kickback. Gotta be careful with that. You don't want to get hurt. Now, I'm just showing you how to do this with a power saw, right? But if you want it to be, we'll get into that in later videos, but we'll start whipping out the jigsaw. Right now we're going over power saw, right? So I'm showing you, I'm basically trying to say, hey, you could take the power saw and you could cut almost anything you want. Then you start getting to the fine carpentry, you're not going to have these cuts going through. You'll be using the jigsaw and all different tools, okay? I'm trying to minimize the tools in these earlier episodes just so you start to get the hang of it. Because once you get the hang of it, then we introduce new tools. That's the best way to learn how to use the tools, right? Because if you just start using 10 different tools, then you feel like you need that tool to do everything, but you actually don't. Like, if I'm not worried about how the back of this is going to look, then why would I sit there and use all these different fancy tools? You know what I'm saying? If it's going to get nailed to a solid piece of wood, you're not going to see the back, you know? That's crazy. Again, you could just take the knife and clean this up. Always keep your hand away from the knife, okay? Always keep your hand away from the knife when you're cutting. That's one of the most important things. And that's not just carpentry, that's cooking and everything you do. Cut away from your hand. I could say that 1,000 times to you. That's the number one way somebody gets cut. They're cutting towards themselves with a knife. Never cut towards yourself with it. And you just figure it out, okay? So if you got to cut, you cut away or into something, I guess you would say, right? Now that's nice and clean. Okay. I'm going to go here. Number one way somebody gets cut is cutting towards themselves. Okay. I'm cutting into something, right? I'm rocking the knife back and forth. Okay. Nice clean edge. Okay. Okay. It's all cleaned up. There you got your perfect. That's perfect, right? We'll take the orbital sander. We're going to sand this down. You got your perfect equilateral diamond shape, and we did this with the power saw, an orbital sander, a tape measure, and a square. I hope that you enjoyed this video. You can make shapes like this using all the methods and techniques that I've been showing you. This is a very cool shape, right? It's equilateral. You can spend a lot more time sanding it, but for this video, this YouTube video, that's going to be all. This has been the Rocket Ridge Rusty Show in episode number 7, making a equilateral diamond shape out of a piece of wood.